Hello everyone and welcome to this next video. Today we're talking about another topic that is very important, are some of the designer terms. Yes, designers use terms that a lot of people are like, what? Huh? What? Now I've explained a couple to you guys in a previous video, which is the video where I talk about some of the terms like PNG, JPEG, CMYK, and RGB. And DPI, dots per inches, keep that in mind. But as well, there are a couple of other terms that are important to know when you are talking to your designer who will explain something to you. Now, some designers will talk to you guys about textures. Now, textures are something that are super important to keep in mind when you're designing, because sometimes a designer will talk about a texture. They're like, what? So if a designer talks to you about a texture, it's the feel, appearance, the consistency of the surface or a substance. Like a skin texture, a wooden texture, like something that has a feel or an appearance to it is a texture. Now, then we have another term, which is a gradient, for example. A gradient is an inclined part of a road or railway or slope. That's what they written down, but in the graphic design world, a gradient is a color that combines with each other, which overlaps, which blends into one. That is how it is taught and how it is told. And it's basically in vector calculus a gradient of a scale value differential number of several varieties. I guess that will work. But that's a bit too complicated to explain. So for an example of a gradient, this is an example of a gradient. Also, this is an example of a texture. And then we have another one, which is the term of a brush. Now, a brush is basically a pencil. For example, I have a paintbrush here. This is a brush. Or you can have a hairbrush. So see it as a brush that you can use, like a stamp or something that we use in, like, for example, in graphic design, sometimes you use a brush to remove something and keep something, as well as painting something, which is why we use a brush. A pen tool is basically what it says. It's basically a pen, but in a digital form. The pen tool is a tool that you use to create lines. For example, if I use this pen to create lines, which of course we in graphic design, we do that a lot. For example, I have my trusty thing here. I have my piece of paper here. I draw a line and I'm using my pen tool. But in digital, you can move that pen tool around. That's basically what that means. As well as there is a term called kerning. Now, kerning is something that I've come across, and I sometimes wonder if designers even see what they're doing. Kerning is a thing that is super important when you're using a lot of text, as well as when you're creating a logo. For example, if I have a couple of texts in the screen, for example, I'll have a link to a program where you can test your kerning skills in. Keep in mind, this is a lot of fun to do. You'll see what it actually then means even better. But it basically means the white space between letters. If that is too small or too big, you'll notice that the letters will kind of fall off the edge. They'll basically not be on the same line. They'll be a bit off the edge or a bit too much space in between. For example, I have a letter here and I have a letter here, and that's even. That's fine if it's all even on all letters. But if it's like smaller on one letter and the other one's bigger, you'll notice the amount of difference straight away. And that is something that you'll have to keep in mind when you're using or working with these kind of things, because it's super important to use. What else is there? What else is a term that I use a lot? I think I use the word mood board sometimes, which is to create like several different images put together. Or use a term when I talk about feelings. Feelings is the mood that you want to give to an artwork. For example, if I ask you, do you want something that shouts you're angry? I'll go into like the darker, more reddish tones. Instead of you asking me to design something that is super bright and funny, I'll go to some more like lighter tones, for example pink, or I'll go to something that's more even brighter. But that's basically how that works. So you go to certain color schemes that are more brighter or more yellow or more like those kind of tones. That's basically what it means. So you look at it like that. What else is a term? I think I've discussed most of all the terms that I'm using mainly in my graphic design. There could be others, of course. There are so many. There is a whole list of terms that the graphic designers will use. There's even a funny video that will tell the difference between a graphic designer and a client, which is also super duper funny, which I'll link into the description about too. I think that those two will be super helpful if you're talking to a graphic designer or it's your first time designing something. You come across these terms every single day, basically, but keep that in mind. So I want to say thank you guys for watching. I hope this video has been informative. If this is your first video you're watching, thank you for watching. If this is the third video you're watching, that's cool too. I hope all these videos are informative and will teach you something about the world of graphic design and the terms that graphic designer use, or anything else about the difference between things and how programs work. I hope it's been helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.